Have you ever been called a band geek, a theater nerd, cyber dork, studio rat, gamer punk, orchestra dork, book monkey, drama jock, Poindexter, artsy fartsy, or just plain weird? Well then, welcome to Art Nerds. This is the podcast where we sit down with our nerdy friends, embrace our inner geek, and celebrate our art. And welcome back, my friends. This is Art Nerds. This is the place where we talk to our nerdy friends about their art. My name is Michael Bryan, and across the table from me is a young lady who is very near and dear to my heart. We have Maggie O'Brien. How are you?
Hi, everybody. I was about to really just get into my usual, and I'm Maggie, because we do a different podcast together called Quality Time with the O'Briens.
Yes, Maggie is one of my podcasting partners, among other things, but she deserves her own Art Nerds episode all of her own.
Aw, thanks.
Maggie, what is your art?
I'm kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to art, I would say, but I think my main focuses are voice acting and sound design and a little bit of writing.
And a little bit of writing. Where do you want to start?
Probably the voice acting thing I've been working on the most.
Okay, well, what have you been working on recently?
I signed up for this thing called Backstage recently to just kind of dip my toes into the water, see what I can do in terms of, finding something to give my art an outlet for.
Right.
So just today I did something for a podcast. I think it might be a TV series, I'm not entirely sure. But a podcast series called The Pirate's Daughter, and I auditioned for Stella, the Irish nun who was a pirate, who was born a pirate, raised a nun. So I took a couple of takes in my good old Irish accent.
Your good old Saoirse Ronan.
My very good old Saoirse Ronan. And just kind of played with it a little bit. So
now, you have a series called The Golden Vault.
Correct, yeah.
And that's one of the most amazing voice acting. Well, you also sound engineered it too.
I did sound engineer it too.
But you voiced everything in it.
Correct, I did.
So,
except for a single line at the end that was done by my dear friend Jason Neff.
Tell us about Golden Vault.
Golden Vault is definitely a work in progress series. It's literally one episode and maybe a trailer right now. But it's to showcase writing. It's to showcase short stories and kind of... Let me start at the beginning. The way I've structured this podcast is that you, the listener, are walking into kind of a cozy, jazzy little golden bar at the end of the night, right? You're tired, you're exhausted, you kind of just want to relax. So you go to this little place called the Golden Vault. And there you meet Miss Velvet, who is a storyteller. And she tells you all these weird, wonderful stories. Some that I've written, most of them I've written, but I do want to reach out to other writers and stuff to kind of showcase their work as well. It was meant to be something that showcases other people's writing, and their stories, because I don't want it to just be me being like, oh, look at what I can do. I wanted it to be a collaborative work.
It's neat, but it's like a bit of a series. Kind of an anthology series of sorts.
Yeah, it's very much an anthology series. It's more akin to gathering the prologues of all these weird little stories, or gathering the best bits of these short stories or these long stories and giving them an episode.
Oh, neat.
So it always starts off in the bar, and you talk to Miss Velvet, and then it goes immediately into a narration of the story with lots of sound effects, trying to bring it to life.
And it's all audio.
It's all audio. It's all an audio masterpiece.
It's all basically radio drama from the good old days.
It is basically a radio drama.
That sounds marvelous.
And Miss Velvet is obviously the character that I play, because
it's your character.
I was just dicking around one day. And it's just like, what if I did a sultry kind of little lady for the bar? Just Miss Velvet is this sultry little minx who runs the bar. So.
And it turned into this Anthology.
It turned into this anthology series that I'm continuing to work on because, like I said, I only have one episode up on the ether.
Right, but I'm going to encourage you to finish it because I've heard the first episode.
It will never be finished, but I will try to work on it more. I'm known as just a work in progress kind of person. There's so many projects that I've started. I'm what people call a hobby hopper, and they hate me for it.
I don't think they hate you for it. It's just like, finish it.
Yeah, it's a bad habit. I'm trying to overcome it. We start with finishing the dishes.
Right.
And then we work up to finishing a podcast.
First, put the peanut butter away, then...
I'll never hear the end of the peanut butter. Okay. I'll never hear the end of it.
How did you get into this audio world? What led you... Me? Well, besides me. Okay, fine. How did I get you into this audio world? Because I had never thought of it until you glommed onto it.
The way that you introduced me to it, I dropped out of school for graphic design in 2016 because it was too expensive and there was no way I was going to take out a loan to go to one class a week.
Right.
So there was no reason for that. So, but I was living in... I was living in Bloomington by myself in a shoddy little apartment, working at Barnes & Noble, or excuse me, redacted.
That's all right.
It doesn't matter. I was working book retail, and you were like, I think we were just like on video call one night because I called you and Mom like maybe once or twice a week.
Right.
And you were just like, you have a really good voice for radio. There's a radio program at Parkland. Why don't you go back to school? And I was like, okay, maybe.
Okay.
And then I think because my lease ended the summer of that year because I had moved out in 2015.
Right.
And then I started... No, I moved out in 2017 because that's when I ended my job. That's when I left my job there because I was like, you know what? If I'm going to live with my parents, I'm going to go back to school because I'll have the money for it. So when I started taking those radio class, like I went and I re-enrolled in Parkland and they're like, oh, welcome back. We didn't change any of your passwords or anything like that. And I was like, cool, great. Glad I didn't have to go through any rigmarole. It's a nice thing about Parkland. But, and then I started taking those radio classes and some spark lit up in me, just tinkering around with Adobe Audition and just tinkering around with DAWs. And Adam Porter was a really big part of it, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so too.
But you, that initial, hey, you're really good with your voice. Because you've always said it. You've always said I've been a good mimic.
Well, let's preface this a little bit, too. For about 10, 12 years, in the middle of all this, Maggie and I were professional puppeteers.
That's right.
And we did kids...
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-pandemic. We did children's shows. We did kids' picture books, turned them into puppet shows.
That's right.
And did them all over Central Illinois.
So puppeteering is another art of mine.
But her voice work with puppeteering is part of, I think, your talent. And I don't know if it's any of your inspiration.
Sadly, I don't think it is. I think I thoroughly enjoyed exploring voices while we were doing it, but it was the same stuff, like...
Right.
Most of the time. So it was just like a
It was vaudeville. We did the same show every day of the week.
Vaudeville.
Yeah. We did the exact same thing every day, every weekend. Yeah.
I was always, just
right.
Little Timmy.
However, I will say that if it was an inspiration, it certainly was training ground.
It was absolutely training ground. It was ground zero for training.
Right.
And having a mother as a voice teacher also helps with it.
Yeah. There's a lot of little
there's a lot
All
of
little irons in your fire, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, definitely master of none. When it comes to the things that I do,
Right.
because that's the big thing about today. The more tools you have in your belt, the more
marketable
you
yeah, that's
are,
what they say.
essentially. But some of it's just like I genuinely just want to learn about this. I genuinely just want to dig my claws into it and see what I can do with it.
Yeah. Might I venture to say that maybe you're also you like your computers.
Oh yeah, I do.
You like playing on the computers. You like tinkering with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're very good at it.
I've genuinely thought about buying a PC just to see what I can do with it.
Right. But is that part? Do you think that?
I think it's part of it because
why you enjoy the radio gear so much?
Yeah, I love DAWs. I love tinkering around with it. I love the thing I love about sound design specifically is the minute editing that I get to do in my software.
Oh, you like that specificity.
I really do. It's
like
kind of bizarre, but when I was in those classes and when I was just working on my own podcasts, I would like get into the nitty-gritty of my audios, and I still do it to this day. I have a predetermined set of what do I need to edit? Like today, when I was recording my voiceover for The Pirate's Daughter, I did 6 or 7 takes because I was like, okay, they also want British. I need to get out of this Irish mode and get into British. So I had to go watch someone with a British voice for a few minutes and then come back to
Put it back in your ears.
I was like, okay, I can slip into the Irish really easy, but it's switching to the British.
British, yeah, yes, of course. Can I do it? Yes,
I
of
mean,
course.
yes, there's different types of British. There's that haughty British,
which is BBC British.
There's BBC British.
There's
Cockney.
And
Cockney's a little more
harsh,
borderline Irish.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was, my editing technique was like, all right, we got to shorten this. We got to make a fade in for that. We got to fade in these two things together. We got to make the volumes level. We got to make sure it's in stereo and not mono because for some reason my microphone only records in mono and I haven't figured out how to undo it yet. And it's been years like that. I'm just lazy.
Well, you're...
Oh I know my shortcuts for just fixing it.
They wanted stereo for these auditions?
No,
or?
that's how I record things. That's how I submit things is I submit in stereo. I don't submit mono because, first of all, if you're doing radio, you want things to be out of both sides of your car, right? You want things coming out at you surround sound. Okay. That's how it is. Not for everybody, of course, but
interesting.
It just stereo sounds better and is more fun to play with than mono because mono you only have that single line of audio and you don't get my favorite example right now is Metallica's Master of Puppets. They did a small remix for it for the Stranger Things 4 season 4. Beautiful, by the way. Absolutely beautiful. But I play it in my car every once in a while. And there's this part towards, I think, marker 3 minutes and 4 seconds, something like that, where they fade out, but the guy's yelling, "Master! Master! Master!" So it's voices coming out of different sides of the car.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so that's why stereo is more fun to play with than mono.
Got it.
Because stereo, you get to do crap like that. It would just it's
a few extra brushes.
It's a few extra.
Kit.
Yeah, exactly. Because ASMR, which is a huge audio kind of cash grab right now. Because a lot of YouTubers do ASMR, which is autonomous sensory meridian response. You've probably all heard of it by now. But what it is, it's just that tingly feeling. I'm just going to explain it as they would.
That's fine. Go ahead.
It's that tingly feeling you get at the back of your neck when someone whispers in your ear or puts the the razor next to your
buzzers.
Buzzers next to your ear when you're getting a haircut or something like that. So it's that tingly feeling you get in the back of your neck. They do it stereo. And they have
sound,
and they have very specific audio equipment, which is really cool. What I really want to get my hands on because it'd be great for like Foley.
Right.
Like having a 3DO for Foley. Oh, so cool.
What is it called? The gear?
3DO. It's one of like many.
Okay.
But what it is it's a microphone that has microphones on two sides. But it's got two fake ears on it. So it's meant to record in stereo.
Okay.
But what our ASMR artists do is like they'll brush the mic and you'll only hear it on one side, and they'll brush the other side and you'll only hear it on that side. And
so it's kind of this thing is kind of a method to get tactile with the sound, or with creating the sound.
It's very much a tactile thing. ASMR is very specifically a tactile sort of audio experience, I would say. And a lot of people do visual stuff with it too. It's supposed to be like a relaxing thing.
Right.
Some people just use it for like studying. Some people use it to go to sleep. I'm weird. I just like it.
I rock out to it.
It's just how it is. But I have they have ASMR Zeitgeist is one that I like a lot because he has a lot of different gears that he uses. He has a little mini microphone that picks up beautifully on like any, like it's like a 360 microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Wish I knew what it was called. I think it's called the Tascam. Anyway,
that's a brand name. Yeah.
It's a brand name, but it's beautiful. It's this cute little thing. But then he has the 3DO, which is the microphone setup and then the two ears on the sides, and then he just goes nuts with it. I want it specifically for Foley.
Okay.
Because I think it would be great.
Now, is Foley another thing you're aiming to get into? I'm
looking to learn more about it because I have the basics of Foley, and for those of you who don't know what Foley is it's basically when you hear the sound effects in a movie or a TV show or a car commercial. You'll hear like leaves crunching. You'll hear like
all the background.
Yeah, like the clip clopping of hooves. That's just a guy with two coconuts, two hollowed out coconuts. When you hear someone getting stabbed in a horror movie, it's usually like some guy with a knife and a head of lettuce. Yeah,
but it's creating those effects, those sound effects,
right? Because out in the field, when you're filming, you can't pick up those sound effects.
Right.
It's damn near impossible.
Right.
So they have to be added post.
Right.
They have to be added in post.
But that's something you're interested in.
Oh, absolutely. Because it would also help with the Golden Vault thing.
Oh, that's true.
Because I would need Foley to, and there's like websites with free assets, but I don't want to rely on those all the time because like I have a very specific way.
You want to hear
I want to hear the thing.
Okay. You're what they call a temperamental artist.
I'm a perfectionist, and it's the worst.
You want to, but I appreciate that though. But you've got these sound stories in your head, and you're very particular. I mean, as another artist, I appreciate that. I appreciate.
If I'm going to be niche with my art, it's this one.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Tell me, talk about because you've also, as Maggie mentioned, she and I are half of the Quality Time with the O'Brien podcast.
Yeah.
And, but you have other podcasts.
I do.
And you've worked on your own and others and.
Yeah. I have worked on, it may or may not come back. Who knows? We'll see. But I have a podcast called Mad Gab with Maggie, and it's basically just a small 10 to 15 minute thing about me talking about random nerdy news that I found that I thought was interesting. I might make that a monthly thing again.
Right.
Who knows?
But it's you geeking out over the stuff you like.
Right. And that was babied, that was fostered from, I don't know a good word for that. It was fostered from my radio show, which was under the same name when I was working on WPCD.
Oh, that's right. It was
So it was just like
your student radio program.
Yeah. So when I stopped taking the radio class, when I was finished taking the radio classes, I should say.
When you graduated from that
When I
program.
graduated from the classes, I couldn't go in the radio anymore.
So
So I did a podcast for a while. Also, like the pandemic was
Yeah.
a thing that kind of fostered that because I was like, oh, I'm working from home.
let's podcast.
Let's do stuff.
Yeah. I think we all did the same thing.
And now I'm kind of back in that mode because I'm like, oh, I actually graduated. Cool.
We
What am
gotta
I
get
going to
this-
do now?
Yeah. You got to get that stuff up and running again.
I do. I really do. Because
you've worked with friends podcasts too. Mouth Sounds.
Yeah. So that was another radio show that we did. It was my buddy Jason Neff and Justin Klett. And we watched a movie a week and we talked about it for 2 hours on WPCD. And it was so much fun. And I really do miss doing it. It
Yeah.
was definitely, genuinely a lot of fun. But I would love to do it again because I genuinely miss hanging out with those two goofballs.
Yeah.
Because we were like the dream trio for a while. It was just the three, the brown leather boot gang, as Jason would call it, because we would all wear the same leather boots to
That's funny.
the station. And there's a photo of us hanging up in the station
Yes,
too.
it is still there in the station. WPCD on Parkland's campus.
Yay!
You can see the
You can see us
the
making
brown leather boot gang.
dumb faces in the
It sounds to me, tell me if I'm wrong, the way you're talking, is that you're kind of on the verge of all of these projects.
Correct.
You've been preparing for them and practicing and rehearsing and honing skills. And it sounds like you are pretty much on the verge of any one of these careers. Would that sound right?
Yep.
We're not,
But until I find a sugar partner, that's not going to happen.
well, I'm not gonna waste my podcast time on what might or might
No,
not
I
happen.
know. I just, for me, unfortunately, it's a motivation thing.
Yeah. What would motivate you then? I mean, besides just sheer will.
Infinite money.
Yeah, well.
I think maybe for me, it would be having like a genuine office dedicated to doing the sound stuff. Because if I'm in my bedroom, like the sound studio that I have right now, I'm in my bedroom.
Right.
And my bed's right there.
Singing my name.
And every once in a while, I'm just like, oh, you know what?
That would-
Sun's shining just right through my window. The fan's on. I got the window open. It's time for a nap. Even if I've done absolutely nothing that day. And it's the same with my writing. Like, I'll be tinkering away with my writing, and I'll look over, and there's my bed.
So we got to get your bed out of your bedroom or your studio out of your studio, one or the other.
I think I need like a genuine office space. I think I need a dedicated recording space that I'm just like, okay,
I can focus.
this is where I need to focus.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Because like I'll do the hoity-toity thing and like go out to a cafe and write because I'm just like, okay, I spent money here. I might as well use the time to write.
Right.
And like, or read or do something productive.
And you usually get some, and
I'll get something done.
I say that because I'm the same way. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm in my home,
If
it's
I'm
real
at
hard.
home, there's snacks in the kitchen. There's 2 feet away from me.
right.
My bed's right there. My PlayStation's out there.
Yep.
Like I have so much stuff at my fingertips. But if I'm out bopping about and all I got is my journal and my phone, I'll just be like, all right, time to put on some lo-fi music and get to work.
Get to work, right?
Like I'll sit on the porch sometimes and just write.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling like it, because that's enough of a disconnect from the distraction. Because like I'm outside, it's nice out. There's a squirrel in the yard. There's a couple of ravens. You know, we're having a good day.
Yeah. Out of all of these things that you are working with, or that interest you, all of these skills, what would be? Would you pick just one? If so, which is it?
It's tough to pick just one because
Or does it matter at this point?
I don't think it matters because I think I'll always be an artist regardless of what thing I pick.
Right.
I think it doesn't matter if I'm sewing together sound files or if I'm pouring my heart out into a audio gig, like a voice acting gig. I think they're both genuinely going to just be art forms, and I'll still be an artist. Like,
right.
Like, it doesn't matter which one comes first in terms of a career.
Okay.
I'd like it to be voiceover, but because
I think your heart is in you, whether you agree with me or not. This is me. In case you haven't figured out, Maggie's my daughter.
Hi guys.
I think. What was I saying? I think, at heart, deep down in your soul, you are a performer / storyteller.
Absolutely.
I mean, regardless of what you do, how you do it, ultimately you've got some story behind it.
And it's definitely a performative element, because since I was 3-4 years old, I've been on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in theater. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. It's in every little aspect. I do it I get paid to like act at work.
That's right, you do.
I work for context, I work in an escape room, so I get to be like a goofy person like all day, and it's great. Most of the time. I'll have my customers.
We're not going there. We're not
going to go there. But yeah, I get paid to act. I get paid to be a performer, which is like the dream job for anybody.
Is great.
Which is a dream job for any actor. It's probably why I like my job as much as I do.
Yeah.
Because I get paid to be a performer. I get paid to sit down.
Sit down and perform? What?
Kind of, sort of. Again, it's a lot of audio stuff. Like
That's true.
We're not in the room with guests, with customers. So I have to do everything either via a microphone or other means.
Interesting.
So that's another outlet for my voice acting.
Yeah.
Because I have 3 different characters that I do when I'm at work. And
that I didn't know. That's interesting.
So you'll get to learn this when you and Mom go on your date.
Yep.
I got him a gift card for his birthday. But when you and Mom go down, you'll see that I have a very specific voice for whatever game I'm running.
Right.
Because we have several different games. I'm only trained on 3 at the Mo.
Right.
They for now. But yeah, I have a different voice for each one.
That's
and
fun.
That plays into
everything we've talked about so far.
Yeah, everything we've talked about.
Yeah. Interesting. Different question, kind of a different question, kind of a different vein.
Okay.
Do you have any heroes, any inspiration, any muses in any of these fields that kind of point you in a direction that you really like?
Kinda, sorta. I think I have a few.
Okay.
I definitely have a few. Since I've entered into the world of the grandioseness of sound design and radio and all that jazz, and voice acting specifically. I think my biggest hero, though, is Adam Porter and Dean Geiken.
And these guys are?
These guys were my professors at Parkland. They are... Adam Porter is the radio and music producing professor at Parkland. Genius.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute genius man. The sweetest man you'll ever meet. But he also just really encourages people to be creative. It doesn't matter what outlet. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. As long as you do it, that's what matters.
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. Do it. Because you're getting experience.
Right. Do it. Give it your all.
Yeah. And that's what I learned from him. And that's what I learned from you, too. But he's really hammered it in over the years.
He made it clear.
He made it very clear. And Dean just being the absolute, like, best wingman for... Like, he is the MC for the radio students.
Right.
He is the hype man. He's the one who gets excited about people being on air. He's the one who gets excited about anybody being in the studio, as long as they treat it with respect.
Right. Well, yeah.
We've had our conversation.
I mean, that's part of his job too. But
That's
anyway.
true. I mean, those rooms are his babies.
Yeah.
So I get it. I totally do. But those two people have definitely encouraged me to continue on and get deep into the nitty gritty. Like, because I wasn't interested in music production until I took Adam's class.
And now
I'm just like, dang it. Now I want to buy a MIDI. I don't have any money. So I'm just like, if I bought a MIDI, I could play with Pro Tools and make my own music.
okay.
And Pro Tools is another DAW system.
DAW means
Digital audio something.
digital audio workspace.
Workspace, yes. I believe that is what the W.
Yeah.
Workshop? I don't know.
Workspace. It's the computer programs that handle sound.
It's the digital version of a recording studio.
Yeah. So anyway.
So like, if you've ever seen a soundboard, it's the thing with all of the
Sliders
and knobs.
Sound waves. Yeah.
I got to learn what those do. So.
Yeah.
And I was really happy about that because I also got to sound mix for a concert.
Oh, that's right.
Earlier this year. That was our final project. We got to do the soundboard mixing for several bands who performed at a concert at Parkland. And I got to do it for Ashland.
That's the name of the band.
That's the name of the band. They are super amazing. Lead singer, awesome, wonderful. Everyone in that band is super sweet. Check out their music. They're really good.
Other inspirational people and heroes, muses.
This is going to sound totally dopey and so stupid. But Matt Mercer.
What?
Because he's every voice actor's dream.
Right. Okay.
He is living the voice actor's dream right now. And he's also one of the most like influential voices that is doing all the things.
Right.
Like he's in video games. He's got his own podcast series. He's got his own YouTube series. He's doing it all.
Right.
He's doing it all. But he's also just like a genuinely sweet person.
Okay.
Like I don't like him just because he's a good voice actor. I like him because he's wholesome. He doesn't have any like weird beef with anybody. He's not He's not oddly dramatic about things.
Right.
He's just a guy who knows how to voice act and is just sweet about it.
Okay. And that makes a difference.
And that makes a difference. And it's the same way I feel about also Erika Ishii, who is part of the new Critical Role cast. She's another little gremlin person who is a great voice actress. And she's starting to like rise up in the ranks. She's starting to like get her name out there. But she's also super wonderful. Fantastic fashion sense too. Might I add.
Always helps.
Always helps. And I think one for acting that I've recently kind of been into is a gentleman named Brennan Lee Mulligan.
I know Brennan. Yeah, I know
You
who
know
he
Brennan.
is. Yeah, I know who he is. I've listened to his podcast.
He
several times.
has some of the best monologuing. Just like off
Really?
the top of his head monologuing at any given point in time. And I can recite half of it. But I think I really got into him a year or two ago when I was just like binging College Humor videos. Because that's where he started.
Right.
He started at College Humor doing, I am the CEO of whatever company. And it's hilarious. He's just really funny. But he gets it. Like, he's got the acting gene.
Okay.
He's definitely got the acting gene. And it bit him in the ass hard. But he's hilarious. And he's also just another genuinely sweet person. Like, it's good to have wholesome figures.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's because it's harder to follow people if they're constantly involved in drama. Which
Yeah.
is something that I try not to do.
Which
with
is
my
odd
life.
coming from us since we're
Since we're theater nuts.
We're theater nerds. Yeah, we're theater nerds. So
we like different kind of drama. We like the stuff on stage.
Yeah, we like to keep it where it belongs. That's what I tell my students.
We like to let it happen, and then we'll write a story about it, and then we'll write a screenplay about it, and then we'll gather a bunch of our weird friends and go act it out on the stage downtown. Yeah,
pretty much
from Broadway. But yeah, I gravitate towards more wholesome people. I gravitate towards more people who are less in the limelight of drama and more in their own. They're more dedicated to their own story than getting in the faces of other people.
Well, I think it's easier to work with people who are just dedicated to the work, because for me, I don't know much about Matt Mercer, but you're right in the sense that he's not in the tabloids for any
cheating on Marissa Ray or like anything like that. Yeah. Or like he said this to that person.
Yeah, he does his work because he loves his work.
Yeah, and
I think it's easier to deal. It's easier to. I think it's easier to admire and want to work with those kind of people than it is.
Yeah, because they have a love for the thing that they do.
Right.
And if you've met anybody in your life that loves the thing that they do, it's like, I know it's cheesy to say, it's never work if you love the thing that you do every day. It's going to be work. And they treat it like work.
Right.
But it's still, there's an amount of effort that goes into what they do. Like, and you can see it.
Agreed.
There's a beautiful amount of effort and care and respect that goes into the thing that they do, and a beautiful product comes out of it. And I don't get to see that a lot.
Yeah.
But those are the people I gravitate towards because of that. Because it's like, oh, these are the people who love their job because there's a respect around,
right.
Like they respect their job. But yeah, I think those are kind of my heroes.
Nice.
But yeah.
Would you say that I've been doing this podcast for almost 6 months, and I'm going to say most of the artists I've talked to talk about a connection with the audience, regardless of the art form. Okay? I mean, like,
this is an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's a question, but it's more of a discussion topic. But it's Steven, the photographer I talked to. Even he's very aware of his audience, and then there's a moment, and Michael, the painter, the abstract painter, on the podcast, there are moments where he's not talking to his audience, but every once in a while there's this rare moment he's standing in a gallery of his work and he gets to listen to people, and then there's moments where they get it, and
that's awesome.
but there's, so in terms of your heroes and your muses, it sounds like you're kind of the audience that they want, or at least you're an audience and are inspired to want to create more of that audience down the road.
Yeah, I think so. Because of how big some of these people are, they automatically know what their audience wants because, they're on Twitter, they're on social medias,
right.
They're getting immediate feedback. But for someone like me, I don't.
Right.
So I actually have no clue what my audience knows until someone comes up to me and tells me.
Right.
And I had one person recently who's like, "Are you going to make more of those Mad Gab things? Because my dad really liked them." It was Andrea, by the way.
That's fine.
Don listens to my podcasts. Who knew?
Well, we're fun.
Yeah. The fact that he likes them, though, is super awesome.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't get that interaction that often. Because I'm just sitting at a desk with a multitude of my journals with a bunch of writing in it and a script in front of me.
But
and
doesn't even one, knowing that one really digs it,
it's enough.
It's enough to make the next one.
I think it's genuinely enough. I would like more feedback because I'm someone who wants to be better.
Right.
I'm someone who's constantly striving to learn more, be better for, especially for like, because the art that I do is very much for other people.
Sure.
It's not for myself, other than like the Golden Vault. That's a totally different story. But the Mad Gab stuff, that's for other people. That's for me to be like, hey, what's up? Here's the news for the week.
Right.
Kind of dealio.
Right.
And that's for other people to enjoy and kind of like get the layman's terms on what's happening, because I don't get into like nitty gritty stuff when I do my shows.
I will respectfully disagree with your Mad Gab podcast. Now, her Mad Gab podcast was, like you said, 15 minutes, roughly 20 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes.
And it was just lots of quick little snippets of, she called nerdy news. So she would cover, new video games and, amusement park openings and this wonderful, weird, silly, fun stuff. And I don't think you did it for everybody else. I mean, everything you talk about is stuff you're interested in as well.
Right.
You don't pick stuff just random for everybody else.
No, because during the pandemic, everyone was already depressed. So I was like, why don't I just give people something happy to listen to?
But it's the stuff that makes you happy as well.
Right.
So
I was also depressed.
So, but I will also, what I'm saying is you don't do it just for other people. I think, and again, see if you agree with me, is that most artists look for the connection with their audience. They don't just do it for themselves, but they do it for that connection with other human beings.
Genuine human connection.
Yeah, and I think even Mad Gab, even as silly and simple as it is, you're connecting with those other nerds who love that stuff one way or another. So
okay, I can see that.
So what Don found so fascinating about it is beyond me, but he shares your interest. He shares your interests somewhere.
I love Don.
He shares your interests somewhere in the middle of all that. So I would, for you, you make more connections than I think you realize.
I probably, because like when I was doing that, I had when I was uploading those once a week, I had one listener in Australia.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
I don't know if they were like using a VPN and they were in the States, but I had one person from Australia listening in.
That's cool.
Which I thought was very
Kind
fascinating.
of neat. That's very kind of neat. That's great.
But yeah, I mean, I think I do make a genuine human connection more than I'm aware of. Because again, I don't get direct feedback no matter how many times I post on the Facebook page or like how many times I upload.
Right.
I just get people like, if you listen to it, that's enough. That's enough for me.
Right.
And I'm not, the things I'm saying might sound like they're contradicting each other, but I guarantee, like, just because I'm not as aware of it doesn't mean I don't know it's happening.
Okay.
Like I see the number, I see the interaction numbers, I see all that hoo-ha stuff on my feeds. Right.
But I think if I were to tell you something, give you a piece of advice, I think your audience is there. And if you start making stuff with them in mind, like, or not with just so much your audience, but like even Mad Gab. Oh, I think I would love to get into a goofy conversation about this topic with anybody out there. What do you think?
Oh, okay.
It's that kind of approach.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So
kind of like this.
Very much so. I love my little podcast because
I love it too.
It's weird.
It's gotten a lot bigger than I think I ever anticipated it being.
You and me both.
And I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you. And I'm very proud of you, which is why you're here.
Yay!
Okay, here we go. Last few questions. We are on the run up to the end here.
Woo!
What about your artwork turned you on?
I'm 12.
It's not what I mean, and
I know. Sorry. What turns me on about my artwork? It's a great question. I think I've always been drawn to audio in some manner or form. If it's not music, it's listening to people talk. It's listening to NPR or listening to musicals on tape. You know, something about it is just beautiful. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what format of it you're doing. Audio is beautiful.
Interesting.
And I just want to be able, because I think the thing that really I like about it is that I have a vivid imagination. I have since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to continue until I get Alzheimer's or whatever down the road, whenever I lose my brain and I'm sitting in a rocking chair at a nursing home. I feel like that's the strongest thing about me as a person. But I think that's also the strongest thing that I put into my audio is that I want people to experience the same movie in their head that I'm experiencing, or just experience a version of it that they like. Like that's what it's an audio movie essentially.
Well, comes back to you've got a story to tell.
Yeah,
You've always
you
had
know what, you're right.
You've always had a story to tell.
Boils down to me being a storyteller because ever since I learned how to write on a computer, that's all I did. Was write stories.
I'm going to tell you a story. But when you were a toddler.
Oh my God, yeah.
We were still living in Ohio at the time.
Oh, no recollection.
I know. You were 3, it was grade 3, about 3, 4-ish years old.
Was Gracie around?
Barely.
Probably 4.
4, yeah. Anyway, you would spend hours, and I mean it, hours. You had a toy castle, a little plastic toy castle, and this toy castle came with about a half a dozen miniature figures, these little people, little plastic people. They couldn't have been 1.5 inches tall. 6, and they all had a little base, and you could just pose them in the castle wherever you wanted. And you would sit for hours talking and telling stories and making up little scenarios. And those little people were all over that castle.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. I thought you would remember this.
No, I don't remember this at all.
We had it set up on a little cabinet, and you would on your knees right there in front of that castle, and your nose was literally at the front door of that castle, and you were moving those people around, and they were talking to each other, and they were telling stories, and the great tragedies of life, and love stories. But there was always something going on in your head that was coming out in these little figures. And after these little figures had played out their roles, you would go and find other little figures from other toys or other sets or other loaned things. So we had this castle populated with these crazy little plastic people and animals.
I had no idea.
And you would talk your own ear off for hours. So yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know.
So no, you were born that way. It wasn't since you could learn how to write. Yeah.
Because, I have vague recollections of, living in Wisconsin, and we had a little playroom there. And we had this little cubby space, and I would always clear out one space and just, I had an Ash Ketchum figure and a Barbie doll.
Same exact thing.
Lego.
Same, minifigure, Lego minifigs.
And my Eddie Spaghetti, or my Betty Spaghetti doll.
Same thing, just different plastic.
Wow, I did not.
Yeah, you sure did.
I have a crap memory to begin with, but that's hilarious.
I thought you knew.
I didn't.
Your mother and I talk about it all the time. Remember when Maggie? Oh my God.
I remember I did it at Thanksgiving too, because when we were growing up, we would go to there's this church we would rent out, and they
with the big
had
family.
a bunch of toys.
Yep.
And I would just go over to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you sure did.
Revelations today on Art Nerd.
Yeah. Put that to good use however you can.
That's hilarious. Well, then, yeah, I guess it's to tell a story.
Yeah, keep that in
I guess
mind.
I like the outlet of telling a story.
Mm-hmm. And it's always been entertaining. So, what about your artwork turns you off?
Ugh. The motivation to get up and do it.
I think that's kind of universal.
I feel like it's universal.
But yeah,
But
I think
for me,
you're right.
it's always like, all right, I gotta
It's a
open
bigger
this
uni-
up. I gotta get my scripts out. I gotta plug this in. I gotta unplug this and put it back in because it's not reading properly. And I test the volume on the mic. I gotta make sure it's. There's a lot of like. I love the editing process, but it can also be a pain in my butt.
Yep.
Just like because this is no offense to anybody. But we do a radio show every year since the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
With a lovely, lovely friend of ours named Art Funai. But it's a very, very long show.
It is.
And editing it, being the only editor, can be a bit tedious.
Yeah. And Art will admit that. He does.
As he should.
Well, it's because he used to do it. That's why.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, having just being the editor on that project is just like
like Art says, it's a lonely job.
It's a very lonely job because you're sitting for hours scrubbing through audio and making sure all the levels are fine and making sure all the pieces are put in the right places. It's a giant puzzle, like especially the way that we record it, because we got like 12 different microphones.
Yeah, it's a process,
and it's fun. Like, I'm not saying it's not fun. It's fun. It's great fun, especially when we're recording. But then there are like instances where I'm like, I can't get this person to sound as good as I want them to.
Yeah.
I can't get this level right. And some people are too quiet. Like, some people are back here talking like this. Some people are a little too close to their microphones like this. And it's just like there's spikes everywhere. And then there's like, I need you to retake that because I cannot hear you. And then there's like, please back away from your microphone.
Yeah.
But I can't say any of it.
Yeah.
I'm just the person who's like, okay.
So there is a bit of a
piece over here, but that piece over there.
That's it.
Yeah, editing is both a blessing and a curse.
Okay. Is there any other art form that you have not dabbled in that you think you would like to try?
Sculpting.
Really?
Yeah.
Any specific material?
Nope. Just probably clay.
Okay.
Just your basic old clay sculpting. I don't want to like throw. I just want to do like just regular like model sculpting, something like that, or wood carving. I've been genuinely thinking about just buying a block of wood and whittling, just for funsies. Because as we mentioned before, I've dabbled in quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've done resin, I've done painting, I've done, the singing, acting, audio business. I've done, what else have I done? I've messed with 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
I've messed with 3D modeling in programs. I've done 2D animation.
Graphic design, graphic arts.
I went to school for graphic design for a little bit.
But sculpting.
Which was weird.
But sculpting.
Sculpting.
Might. Interesting.
Sculpting or wood carving. I'm leaning more towards wood carving.
Okay, I've got some tools in the basement, some little palm.
I know.
The
basement is full of wonders.
Is there any art form that you would never want to dabble in?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's one of my favorites. The question.
Because there's a lot of answers, or because there's not that many answers?
It's kind of a Rorschach test of what kind of artist you are.
Are you a psychopath?
No, not quite that
Mark
bad.
A or yes. I don't know. I don't know if there's genuinely an art form that I would absolutely be like no to. When it comes to art, I would love to try everything once. Just once. Because I didn't think I'd like jewelry making, but apparently I'm actually not too bad at it. Like, for what it's worth. I've done the resin thing. I'm definitely not good at that. I want to try like making candles. I want to try the woodworking stuff. Yeah, I don't know if there's an art form that I wouldn't do. Maybe, I don't know, like playing an upright bass. I don't know. That's it. That's probably it.
Only because it's bigger than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I can't get around it.
Okay.
I'm 5'1" for context.
Okay. Why do you participate in art? Not just your art, but why do you participate in art?
Well, that's easy. Human connection.
Well, that was quick.
There's a genuine... Every artist puts a little bit of their soul into what they do. It doesn't matter what they're doing. A little piece of them goes into what they do. And if that goes out to the public, you as the audience member gets to see it. Doesn't matter what you're also feeling when you see it. That's a human connection. So like when you go through a gallery, even if it's like ancient artwork, someone spent hours on that. Someone put part of their life into that. And that's something people tend to forget. Because, like, I hear comments all the time, oh, I could do that. I make them too.
Yeah.
Like, I'll look at Rothko and I'll be like, yeah, I could have done that. I didn't.
Right.
But he did. He spent hours of his life doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think the same way when I look at, a Monet, he spent hours of his life just painting that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone spent hours of their life sculpting that. Someone spent hours of their life putting this podcast together. Someone spent hours of their life editing this video. Someone spent hours of their life just voice acting this or doing any of this. A piece of that person is in there because that person has one life on this planet. Yeah. And they took the time to work on their passion, to work on something that meant something to them. And then when the public sees it, they are getting to see that person.
Interesting.
A part of that person.
What a lovely way to put it. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Last question.
That wasn't the last question?
No, that was the end of the interview.
Oh, okay.
It's not the last question.
Okay.
Last question is, where can we see and or hear some of your art?
Oh, yes. A lot of my stuff is on Spotify, Apple Music, all those lovely... I think I'm also on... I don't know if I'm on the Amazon thing. I don't think my distributor goes there.
But are we talking Mad Gab?
Yeah, if you want to listen to both Mad Gab and Golden Vault, because they're both under the same page currently for some reason. I need to fix that. But yeah, you can listen to the first episode of Golden Vault and the first 3 seasons of Mad Gab on Spotify, Apple Music, and I think Google Music as well.
Google Music and probably Stitcher, if I remember.
I think Stitcher's another one too, but also Anchor FM and Red Circle. So
Okay.
Those are the ones that you can go to. I switched over from one to the other.
So okay, we put the links to those things in the the descriptors.
Absolutely, go for it.
And you've got a voiceover website.
Correct, I do. You can find my work if you liked my work here today. Sorry,
Sell it, baby.
If you like what you heard today, everybody, you can go to MaggieO'BrienSounds.com. That is Maggie, Maggie, O'Brien, Obrien, Sounds, SOUNDS.com.
Awesome. Thank you, my dear.
You can see my resume there and also see all the other cool stuff I've worked on.
Awesome. Yeah, there's some great stuff. Great. She's got some great work. My dear, thank you
You're welcome.
for spending your evening with me and
Well, of course.
showing off a little bit and making your dad proud.
Kind of feels like we're back in the puppetry days.
A
so
little bit, doesn't it?
I like it.
Thanks for hanging around and geeking out with us. If you enjoyed the show, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And more importantly, join the conversation and leave us a message or comment. We'd love to hear about your nerdy art. Thanks again, and join us next week for more Art Nerds.